Welcome to the Fayetteville Fire Podcast, where we talk about all things fire-related, safety tips, and things that are happening in our can-do city. I'm Captain Don Cheetah of Community Risk Reduction, and I'm the host for your podcast. According to the North Carolina Wildlife Resource Commission, there were 20 boating deaths in 2022. 16 of them were not wearing a life jacket. We'll talk more about this later on our podcast. So for today's show, I got a very special guest. I'd like to welcome Chief of the Fayetteville Fire Department, Kevin Dove. Welcome, Chief.
Hey, that's still weird to hear, but thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. And how does it feel just a few weeks in? How does it feel being Chief of the Fayetteville Fire Department?
I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around it. It's what an honor to have bestowed upon me, and I hope I don't let anybody down. That's the biggest fear for me right now.
Yeah, I suppose. And it's got to feel good coming up from the ranks from a new fireman to earn your way all the way up to the top of the ladder.
Yeah, I've done a lot of reflecting lately, and to know where I was when I started and the folks that got me to where I am now, it shows you that hard work and persistence pays off at the end.
Yes, sir. And I still remember day one of you walking into Fire Station 1.
Yeah, who would have thought? It's funny. I saw retired Battalion Chief Charles Williams the other day, and we were laughing. I said, "Did you ever think when you were chewing me out 20 years ago that I'd be somebody one day?" And he said, "Nope, sure didn't." So we had a good laugh out of that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So tell me, where did it all start?
It all started at Cotton Volunteer Fire Department, south of Hope Mills, where I live. Some buddies of mine, we were in high school, seniors in high school, and we thought it'd be cool to join the volunteer fire department. Like many people, I was 17, 18 years old, didn't really know what I wanted to do with school. I knew I wasn't a scholar, so I wasn't going to a fancy college. We joined the local fire department. I just fell in love with it, and here we are. So
when you were a volunteer, did you ever really consider this is going to be my career, or was it just something fun to do until you figured out what you wanted to do in life?
Well, like I said, we were finishing up high school. I joined in March. We graduated in June. And I had already applied for Fayetteville Tech, and I started classes at Fayetteville Tech in that fall. But I found myself missing classes or leaving class to go to the fire department and hang out. So I knew that I kind of felt like that was my calling. And I made a deal with my grandmother. I was one of 4 grandchildren, and she was very big on college. So I had to make a deal with her that if she'd let me drop out of college and go to the fire academy, that I would catch up one day and get my degree. And so that January of 1998, I started the Fayetteville Tech's Fire Academy, and here we are. And I did keep that promise and got a degree.
I was going to say, you got a few degrees now, right?
Yeah,
and all the way up to master's?
Yeah, and that's another thing. You would never think you'd hear Kevin Dove and masters in the same thing. But and I hope most people, you're intimidated by these things, and you start an associate's, you're like, okay, that wasn't too bad. I can try a bachelor's, and you go, well, okay, that wasn't too bad. Let's see, masters. I don't know. Let's see, and then hey, you got that too. So don't ever let a degree name or a class intimidate you. Anybody can get it done.
Yes, and Grandma's proud.
Yes, she is.
Kept your promise.
Yep.
So talk about, what was your first, we already talked about your first assignment, Fire Station 1?
Station 1 on A shift for Captain Bobby Horn. Very intimidating place. It was also where hazmat was at the time, and that was October of 99. I came in, 20-year-old kid, thought I knew everything, didn't know anything. Came in with a bunch of very seasoned firefighters, yourself included. We had folks like Charlie Averett, Larry Denton, a lot of the old salts that were, the go-to firefighters. And I was very intimidated, very scared. Young kid, didn't know how to be an adult. And you guys took me in, and probably should have pushed me out, but you took me in and taught me the ropes and taught me how to be a man and a good firefighter, and I'm appreciative of that.
And that was a unique time, because I think you were probably one of the last new firemen to get to put at Station 1 because shortly after that we transitioned to total hazmat.
Yeah, funny story. I was down there, and I think you guys were filling me out, and Chief Matthews was about to push me out to a station, and we had an apartment fire, and Charlie Averett drugged me through that thing, but I stayed with him, and we put the fire out, and he said, well, I guess you'll be all right. You can probably stay down here, and I think it was his approval that allowed me to stay until that change.
Yeah, that was some of the same guys that when I got to Central Station pushed me through. I remember Charlie Averett pushing me in a hot fire one time.
I think he's drugged many of us through fires.
Yeah. So talk about what's some of the different assignments throughout your career.
After I left Station 1, I was on squads. So when they brought hazmat downtown, I went to Squad 3 for a short time and worked with David Dunn and Captain Strickland. And they were a great group of folks, and I learned a lot from them. But my buddy Robert Scoggins, who was a lieutenant for Captain Horn, they went up to Station 2, and they kind of recruited me back, and that was a really good assignment. That was probably one of my favorites when I got back up there to Station 2 with Lieutenant Scoggins and Captain Horn. We just had a good family. Our families meshed well together, so we did things together. We had a good little time. We were busy. We always ran, at that time the city was a lot smaller, so if there was a good fire, Engine 2 was getting it.
Right.
One way or the other. So that was a good time. I enjoyed that. Then I kind of spread my wings into rescue a little bit and moved to Station 4 where Rescue 1 was at the time. Then when I promoted, my first lieutenant's position was at Station 3 on Engine 3. Spent some time there, went to Station 9 as a lieutenant on Engine 9. That was a good time. And then I made captain and went to 14 and spent my whole time as a captain there. And then when I promoted to battalion chief, I went back to Station 9 to be Battalion 2 until I went up to the Bugle Barn.
Yeah, I remember some time with you being a captain at 14.
Yep, I had you at 2, and I had Captain Reap at 3. So we had a good, that was a good little time. We all knew what everybody was going to do, so I think that was good because if it was your fire, you knew we were coming and we were going to take care of business, and I knew if it was my fire, you were coming and your guys would take care of business. So we had some good time.
Yeah, and if I recall one of the first fires, I was still at 3 before I went to 2. You pulled in second in, ready to go fight some fire, and hey, why don't you take command? So,
yeah,
so I ain't going.
You fixed me right up.
Got your little pouty lip there.
Mm-hmm.
So, some of your career accomplishments, what would you be, within your career? What are some of the things you're really proud of?
Well, I think the biggest thing is I got my degree from my grandmother, like I promised her. I was able to obtain the Executive Fire Officer certificate through the National Fire Academy, which is fairly prestigious and takes a lot of work. It's a 4-year commitment. I got my Chief Fire Officer through the CIPSI Accreditation Board. So I think I checked off the blocks, to be a chief. You as a kid, you want to be the chief, right? So you see what people are asking for, so you kind of have yourself a little checklist and you check off the blocks. During my firefighting days, I was big into rescue, and I had all the technical rescuer certificates and things like that. One of the things I always fuss about is right before I promoted to battalion chief, I had to take swiftwater rescue in December in the Cape Fear River, and then I went through that. My fingers are still numb from that, and then got promoted, and they wouldn't let me ride a boat anymore. So, but yeah, the city, the fire department, Fayetteville Fire Department, has provided so many things and opportunities for me. I've been all over this country, training, meeting people, getting knowledge, and if it wasn't for the Fayetteville Fire Department, I wouldn't have had that opportunity.
I would, from an outside perspective, looking into a chief, I would say for me and some of the guys on the street, one of the defining moments we seen in you was when you took over logistics. Logistics was kind of, nobody really wanted to do it. They needed somebody. You stepped in and really streamlined and put the organizational side into that support system for operations, kind of changed that office and how it went forward.
Yeah, we what I'm big on, and I try to preach to everybody, is the operations group, and that's the guys that ride the fire trucks every day, the guys and the girls that ride the fire trucks every day. They're the lifeblood of this organization, so we have to support them. If we don't support them, they fail, and then we fail, and then citizens suffer. So there was some opportunities in logistics. I went in there in a temporary role. That was my first daytime role, so I was concerned about how that would go, but kind of just wanted to prove a point. And I didn't do anything special. I just gave 8 hours a day, hard work, made some relationships, mended some fences, because at the end of the day, the more successful I was and the logistics group was, the better off the guys on the street were, and that's the goal. And we still preach that today.
Yeah, and it's a whole lot different from you going to Chief Whiteside and now to Chief McCardle. It's a whole different thing than it was prior to that, and we're appreciative of that.
And I think I kind of set those guys up for failure because they know my expectations and my buy-in to logistics, so they know that it better not slip.
Right. So what was your all the assignments you named off? What was your one favorite assignment? Can you name one?
I would have to go back to the Station 2 days with Lieutenant Scoggins and Captain Horn. We had folks like Roy West who left us to go be chiefs and do bigger things. We had Steve Lucas. We just had a good group of guys there, and we were always family. You know, even though, and sometimes the day at 5 o'clock, the firefighters kind of go their separate ways to their phones and to TVs and things. But we never did. We always hung out at the kitchen table. We sat together and watched TV. It was just a family atmosphere. We went and did things together on our days off. It was just a good time. It was a good time.
And I can relate to that because I spent quite a bit of my young firefighting time with Captain Bobby Horn and Lieutenant Scoggins guiding my way. In fact, Captain Horn's the reason why I got into fire investigation.
I remember sitting on the back of the truck waiting and cussing y'all because y'all were doing investigations, and I wanted to be back at the station asleep. Yeah. So I remember that.
So do you have a most influential person through your career?
I think I've had a few in the different stages of my career. The first part of the career, there was guys like Charlie Averett, Captain Richard Bradshaw when he was riding the truck fighting fire. You had your guys that, those were the guys, and that's who you wanted to be. You wanted to be associated with those guys. Starting up through officer ranks, you had the Archie Coxes and, different people. There was so many guys that you could learn from. Good and bad. There was a few guys that were influential in a different way. I saw some things they did and said, "Man, I don't ever want to do that. Let me put that in my head and not ever do that or be that way." And then as I kind of progressed up through the ranks, Chief Hill, retired Chief Mike Hill, he was my BC when I made lieutenant, and I kind of followed him on up through the ranks, and he was very influential because he was that soft-spoken leader that kind of let you fall on your face and then picked you up and dusted you off and told you, "I knew you were going to do that. This is why I let you do it, so you can learn. Don't do it again." So I've had several, but it's been good, and I hope I can do that for folks moving up too.
Yeah, and I think a key to leadership is you take the good from the good leaders and the good people around you, but you also learn what not to do, because you see some toxic leaders, and we did, some of the older salty guys set in their ways, and you learn, I don't want to be like that when I'm in charge.
Yeah, I told Chief Hill this, and one of the things I'll always remember, one of the defining moments in my career, I was a young captain. I was young, still mouthy, thought I was setting the world on fire, doing everything the greatest, and I had made some comments in front of some chief officers and things. We were doing some restructuring, and I had expressed some discontent when it really wasn't my place, and I walked by Chief Hill's office one day. He said, "Hey, come here a minute." And he sat me down. He said, "Kevin, you'll go a long way in this organization, but you're going to have to realize when it's time to talk and when it's not time to talk. And you're going to have to basically grow up some." And then that, I went home and reflected on that. And I really think it's kind of put me on the path where I'm at now. Sometimes the hard lessons are the best lessons.
Well, that's most of the lessons I ever learned in life were the hard way. So now that you're in chief, have you had time to sit and think, like what does Chief Dove want to do short term, next 6 months, next year?
We are taking baby steps. I got the support and the contacts have been very overwhelming the past few weeks since the announcement. And I had one, I'll not mention his name, but he's a very influential person in the state, called me. I've known him for a while. And he said, "Kevin," he said, you're in a spot. People are going to try to take advantage of you in your little honeymoon period. So before you make any big decisions, take some time and think about it. So I'm taking that to heart, and we're going to take it nice and slow for a while and get our feet wet and get grounded, and we'll start seeing what we can come up with.
That's fair enough. What about long term?
Well, at the end of my career, I want to be able to walk out as the fire chief without any line of duty deaths or serious injuries on my watch. And what does that take? That takes everything that we're doing to be in place. That takes training. Our training budget's got to stay there so we can get our folks trained because we have a young department. We have to make sure our staffing's adequate so we're not putting guys in bad positions because we don't have enough people. We have to make sure we have the best equipment so to keep them safe. We have to have our physical fitness good. We have to really double down on our cancer initiatives and our cancer screenings. For us old salts, it's all about early detection. But for our younger guys and our newer guys, it's about prevention. So we've really got to focus on that. So it's not just saying I don't want anybody to get hurt or die on my watch, but it's putting all the pieces in place to make that where it's possible. So that's my long-term goal. In the short term, we've got some irons in the fire right now. We've got to get through. This is budget season, so we're navigating that. I've got to get our executive staff built. We've got some folks retiring and some openings, but I'm excited about the possibilities of the folks that are coming up. I think we can all get together and get our heads put down and put together and really make some good progress in the organization. I kind of told Chief Hill, he kind of set us up for failure because, we're nationally accredited. We're ISO Class 1. Where our response times are good. Everything's good. So I've got to maintain that, and I got to try to move the needle. So I pick them with him about that. But we've got some ideas. One of the things we're fighting with right now, and it's a national fight, is recruitment and retention. We all know that in Fayetteville, the cash is never going to be there. If you're solely looking for cash, you can go to another department up the road or a smaller department where they can afford to pay their firefighters more. So what do we want to provide? We want to provide some things, some retention initiatives, maybe some things that'll keep you here and make you want to come here. So that'd be another long-term goal. When I leave, I hope folks are coming to Fayetteville because they want the benefits and the things that we provide, not just the cash.
Right.
So and the city manager, him and his team, they've been so supportive. Actually, I've kind of been nice and easy, and Chief Hill worked on this for years. So did Chief Major. Everybody behind the scenes has been working on some things for our firefighters to take care of them after they put in their years of service here, serving our community. So, like I said, the city manager, he's very supportive. He's adamant. He's engaged. He's committed. So I think we're going to do some good things.
Great. And looking out 5 years from now, what do you envision seeing?
Well, I think, thankfully for the general obligation bond, I think you're going to see a new Fire Station 16 on Cedar Creek Road. You're seeing a new Fire Station 4 being built on Bragg Boulevard right now. You're going to see a new Fire Station 2 or in my heart of hearts, I would love to remodel Station 2 where it's at. I don't know if that's possible. I'm not an engineer. But you're going to see a new or an updated Fire Station 2. You're going to see a new Fire Station 9 in Bonnie Doon and on the Santa Fe Drive, and maybe a few other projects we're working on. And I hope you still continue. Our fleet is amazing. We've been so blessed to have a good fleet. Hopefully that continues. And I just hope you see your staff fire trucks running up and down the road, keeping our community safe.
That's a good vision. And by about that time, it'll be about ready to retire.
Well, I say yes. My wife says no. We'll see who wins that one.
Yeah, I know how that goes.
I'm young. I'm 44, so I'm eligible to retire at 49, right at 50. So we'll see. We'll see how it's going. At 50, if I leave here, I have to go get a real job. I've always said this is not a real job. I love doing this. So we'll just see. We'll see what we see.
It's like everybody asks, when you leaving? Well, it depends what I'm doing and how much fun I'm having.
I'm not saying I'm leaving, but I'm saying it'll be nice to know that I can leave.
That's exactly right. Well, Chief, I sure appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us on the show, and I wish you much luck as we go forward.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. I appreciate the things you and your group are doing. One of our commitments is to double down on community risk reduction efforts. And let's get everybody a smoke alarm. That's my big thing. Is I want every place that anybody lays their head down at night to sleep to have a working smoke alarm or two at their place. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, how much money you got, where you live. Everybody should have that, and we'll provide it. So let's just get it done.
Yes, sir. I thank you for your support going forward. All right, back to our safety tip of the day. We're talking boater safety. You know, the weather's starting to get warm. We're going to be headed out to our local lakes to have some fun. We just want to add a few safety tips and a few statistics for you. According to the National Safe Boating Council, in 2022, North Carolina ranked 10th in recreational boating deaths with 20, 64 injuries, and we ranked 5th in recreational boating accidents with 152. Where instruction was known, 74% of the deaths occurred on boats where the operator did not receive boating safety instruction. If you didn't know, any person born on or after January 1st, 1988 must complete a National Association of State Boating Law Administrators approved boating education course before operating any vessel propelled by a motor of 10 horsepower or greater. Alcohol use is the leading known contributing factor in fatal boating accidents. North Carolina requires anyone younger than 13 to wear an appropriate life vest when on any recreational vessel. And anyone riding a personal watercraft, no matter age or being towed by one, must also wear an approved life vest. And always, we'll say it on every show, working smoke alarms save lives, but you must also have an escape plan when that alarm goes off. Thanks for joining us on the Fayetteville Fire Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to Radio Fayetteville on your favorite streaming platforms to listen to all our podcasts. We will see you next month on our next show. Until then, be safe.